Nicole Atkins, and my record's called Slow Phaser. I wrote a bunch of songs for the record over a couple years, and I wrote a few of them with my friend Jim Sclavunos from Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. And then before I went to record in Sweden, I thought I knew what I wanted it to sound like, and I spent 2 weeks in LA with my friend who's super into prog rock. And then we went out to Joshua Tree for a little trip and just listened to lots of King Crimson and Chrisma and Peter Gabriel. And so that's, you know, it's very influential. It's really nice for a lot of my friends that they've been like, what do you mean it's desert disco prog rock? Because that sounds horrible. And then they heard it and they're like, this is bitchin'. I'm like, I told you. So, well, you know, the first record was a really cinematic kind of Phil Spector sound. And the second record was really stripped down, like a very psychedelic blues record, so we only had 3 or 4 members on the last record. And now, you know, it's not maybe the most financially good choice, you know, to bring out a big band, but for the sound, it just really deserves it. You know, we want to, you know, get loud. It's really fun to work on the sound from how it sounds on the album, but just to make segues and themes and things in the middle of the song, so it's like a show, and it's not just, here's a song, here's another song. It's like, here's a song, we'll talk in an hour, you know, when we're done. I think, you know, just what people should expect on tour is to, you know, be seeing a really big, full, and crazy live rock show, you know. It's a bigger rock show than I've done in the past. Maybe not bigger stage, but sound-wise, it's pretty epic. Girl You Look Amazing was a song that I wrote, actually I wrote it in a dream. I had a dream that David Byrne was singing it at a disco club, like, girl, you look amazing. And I woke up and I'm like, that is a really good melody. And I ran out in my hallway and like recorded it into my phone. But I was thinking, like, how can I write a song called Girl You Look Amazing? Because that's so corny, and I don't feel that way at all. And I just thought about, you know, a girl that feels like, you know, 25 cents inside and looks maybe like $1 million on the outside. And so just basically that, you know, kind of how your insides don't always match up with your outsides. I mean, if people can, you know, get past the title and actually listen to the words, yeah, I think they'll get that, you know. And I feel like anybody who, you know, thinks it's just about looking amazing, you shouldn't listen to this record. I get a lot of my melodies in my sleep, and that's, you know, a big reason, other than I'm really lazy. I snooze it for 2 hours, and in those little, my dreams are really, really vivid, so that in that lucid time, there's a lot of little melody nuggets that happen. You know, it's funny too, when I first started working with Tor on the record, we did my first record together, like 7 years ago. The first thing he said to me, he was like, okay, songs, what do you got? And he goes, are you still having crazy dreams? I'm like, yeah, actually, check this one out. And it was the song Who Killed the Moonlight. And that was a dream I had about the moon falling into the Shark River by where I live. And I was out with 7 Sicilian sisters watching the moon die like a light bulb. And all the fish started dying, but it wasn't scary, it was beautiful, you know. And so we wrote that song together and put a disco beat behind it, and I was like, whoa, we're going there, okay. In your waking life, you know, you could be, especially too with like the internet, and there's just so much noise, you know. And so if you could pay attention to like your dreams and the things that that come to you in your self-conscious and just like way inward, those are the best nuggets. So when I first talked to Tor before my first record, he called me up and was like, I heard your demos, and they remind me of the way that dolls and children are beautiful and innocent yet really creepy. And I was like, you get it. And so I went out there and we worked together, we made that record, and we've always remained friends. And right after Hurricane Sandy happened, he emailed me, and you know, the town that I lived in got hit really bad. And he emailed me and he was like, oh, I'm sorry to hear about what happened to your town. We should make another record together. I told him, you know, I didn't have a label and I didn't have any money, so I didn't know how I could feasibly do that. And he just said to get a plane ticket and not worry about it. Let's just make the music. And thank God for him, because, you know, I got to make a record and I got a place to live while my house was getting repaired. So I had the record done and it was mixed and I loved it, but I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I'm like, okay, well that was cool. Another David Byrne thing. While in the studio, I was reading his How Music Works book, and there's a page about me in it. Flip the page and he's like, for instance, Nicole Atkins. It said that this amount of records for Columbia for a major label was a failure, but if she had more ownership, you know, it wouldn't be a failure at all. And then I was like, yeah, maybe I should start a record label. And David Macias from 30 Tigers called me and he was like, do you want to start a record label? And I was like, okay, cool, yeah. And we named it after my dad's old boat that he crashed. Oh Mercy Records. So we did a pledge campaign, you know, basically ask your fans for money to put your record out. In exchange, you give them like exclusives and vinyl, and I got to make that really cool vinyl. I painted a bunch of stuff. Like I didn't know that many people would even donate. And so I've been like elbows deep in like Michael's craft world. Painted ukuleles and painted skull masks and hand painted like tote bags. And so it's gotten I used to draw a lot of comics, and I haven't for a while. So it's gotten my hand back. So that's cool. The cover art was done by this artist, Nick Rad, who did my first album cover. And I sent him the unmastered record and I was like, hey, I want to know what you think of this. You know, just because I wasn't even wanting him to do anything. And he wrote me back the next day and he was like, hey, I painted something while listening to this, like right off the bat, I saw this. And he sent over that and I was like, whoa, dude. That looks exactly how the record sounds. And I was like, can I use that for an album cover? And he's like, really? Yeah. And like just like the one-eyed moons and that kind of like almost desert-looking landscape and, you know, the disco element, I feel like they're like kind of their version of like, you know, psychedelic proggy disco balls, you know, instead of mirror balls. Actually, you know, in life and in music and in business, you know, it feels pretty good to be the captain of my own ship. Hey, I'm Nicole Atkins, and look for me on Last.fm.